When selecting quality plant material, there are several things that you should keep in mind. The first thing you want to look for is the quality of the storefront. You want to walk up and see a visually appealing storefront, healthy looking plants, and people maintaining and caring for these plants. The second thing you want to look at is the foliage on the plants. You want to make sure that you pick the best quality plants. There's several things you want to look at. You want to inspect for damage, disease, insect. If we look at this geranium, for example, we can see that it's had some damage from some insects in the store. So we want to try and bypass that for a healthier specimen. Next, you want to look at the shape and the size of the plants in the pot. Something smaller and more compact, like this garden mum, is ideal. You get over here and comparing that to this geranium, our geranium's starting to get tall and spindly, and it looks like it's just not as nice of a quality plant that we want to take home as something like this garden mum. It fits the pot size. Next, you want to watch for signs of insect and disease damage. These can include things like brown spots, mushiness, visible signs of chewing from insects. You'll look for small webbing from insects like a spider mite, and those are things that you want to avoid bringing home into your home landscape. We really want to bring home plants with healthy white roots that are going to grow into their pot. This yellow garden mum is a really good example. We lift it out of the pot, we look at the bottom, and we see there's some fine hairs, but we don't see a lot of roots yet. This is a good example of something you want to purchase and bring home. It means that it's going to have a better chance of survival because it'll have a healthier root structure. Something like this smaller garden mum, if you take it out and you flip it upside down, you can see that there's already quite a bit of roots and they're starting to get root bound in the bottom of the container. You also want to avoid plants that show the roots sticking out the bottom of the container. And this is a good example of something to avoid purchasing. You really don't want to bring home a plant that has a lot of roots already growing out the bottom. It has overgrown its space. One more dianthus, and you can see this has been overwatered. Our roots are starting to get brown, starting to die off from a lack of oxygen. And again, just not a plant that you want to bring home. You want to take a moment and you want to look at the stem. You want to look for signs of visibly being damaged. You want to avoid tall, spindly plants, things that have a weakened stem structure. And in a woody plant, you really want to avoid cracks. Most plants that you purchase in containers in a garden center shouldn't have weeds in the pots. It means that there is a competition between the weed and the plant for nutrients and water and energy, and you want to avoid those plants that visibly have weeds growing in the pots. When looking at shrubs and trees in a garden center, you want to look at the root structure of those trees. If they're balled and burlapped, you want to make sure that that ball and burlap is tightly closed, that you don't feel empty holes in there, and that it hasn't been opened to allow air and moisture in there that can possibly dry it out. You also want to make sure that those plants are buried in a nice mound of mulch to help protect the moisture in there. And also, if they're in pots, you want to follow the same rules we've been talking about with annuals and perennial plants as well. The last thing you want to look at when you're in a garden center is the buds and the flowers on the plants. We want to bring these plants home and enjoy them in our landscape. And although this plant is very pretty in the garden center, we want to be able to enjoy the longevity of the flowers. So it's really ideal to buy a plant more like this garden mum, where we can see that it's getting ready to bloom, but it's got all of these wonderful blooms on there that have not yet bloomed. And we get to enjoy that nice quality plant, and we get to take it home and enjoy it in our landscapes.
For more information, visit your local extension office or visit our website at kansasgreenyards.org.